Today, we are diving into a story that's, well, it's a wild one. We're talking about Builder.ai, a celebrated tech unicorn that promised to change software development forever. It had all the hype, massive funding, and a secret that would bring its entire billion-dollar empire crashing down.
So let's get right to it. How does a company worth $1.5 billion just evaporate? That's the mystery we're unpacking today. It's a story all about the incredible promise of AI, but it's also about the danger when the hype gets way ahead of the reality.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of the billion-dollar collapse. Then we'll rewind to the AI pizza promise that got everyone so excited. After that, we'll dig into the cracks that started to show beneath all that hype, watch the great unraveling, and finally figure out what we can all learn from this pretty epic cautionary tale.
Okay, let's start with the end. To really get why this company's failure sent such shockwaves through the tech world, you first have to understand just how big this thing really was. $1.5 billion. At its peak, that's what Builder.ai was worth. We're not talking about just another startup. This was a unicorn, backed by hundreds of millions in serious investment. And that number, that insane valuation, is exactly what makes its sudden disappearance so mind-boggling. So how did they get there? Well, like a lot of these stories, it all started with a brilliant, super simple idea, pitched by its charismatic founder, Sachin Dev Duggal, who actually called himself the Chief Wizard. And this was his magic trick. AI as easy as pizza. The promise was just genius. The idea was that anyone, you, with zero coding experience, could build a super complex app as easily as you order a pizza. You just tell their AI chatbot, Natasha, what you wanted, and poof, a finished product would be delivered. It sounded like the Holy Grail, right? A way to democratize software for everyone.
And you know what? The market totally bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. A massive $250 million investment from some very serious players, including the Qatar Investment Authority, just blasted this company straight into the tech stratosphere.
And on the outside, everything looked perfect. I mean, check this out. They landed a partnership with Microsoft. That's a huge stamp of approval. Fast Company named them one of the most innovative AI companies out there. To the rest of the world, Builder.ai wasn't just another startup. It looked like it was the future of AI. But it was all part of the illusion.
Okay, so behind all that glitz, behind the awards and the nine-figure investments, a very different story was playing out. The cracks were starting to form, and what they revealed was a company built not on revolutionary tech, but on a whole lot of smoke and mirrors.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the whole deception. The promise was, Natasha, this brilliant AI building your app. But the reality? Well, journalists and former employees started to talk, and it turned out most of the heavy lifting was being done by human engineers in India. The AI was basically a fancy front door for a pretty traditional software shop. But the deception didn't just stop with the tech. Oh no, it went way deeper. Right into their finances, with this little trick called round-tripping. So what is that? Basically, it's a sneaky way to fake revenue. You sell something to a partner, and then you agree to buy something back from them for a similar amount. The money just goes in a circle, but on your books, it looks like you just made a massive sale. It's not good. And the thing is, this wasn't a one-off thing. It was a whole pattern of, let's just call it, creative accounting. They were allegedly booking the full value of contracts even when they were giving away huge discounts. They'd take a tiny deposit at a trade show and book it like it was a massive future sale. And of course, they were doing that round-tripping we just talked about. The bottom line, their financials were likely inflated by as much as $120 million. So, you've got a business model built on a lie? And finances propped up by accounting tricks. You know, that's not a company. That's a house of cards. It was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. And when it did, it was fast and it was brutal. Just look at this timeline. It's honestly unbelievable. In February, the founder steps down. Okay, that happens. But then, just 3 months later, May 20th, the new CEO gets on a company-wide call and says, "We're insolvent." And then, minutes later, I'm not talking hours or days, I mean literally minutes later, the mass layoff emails start going out. The speed of it all is just shocking.
And here's the real gut punch. 80%. 80% of the staff, nearly 1,000 people, gone. Just like that. 1 minute you have a job at a billion-dollar unicorn, the next you're locked out of your email. The human cost of this was absolutely devastating. So what happened next? Well, the creditors swooped in and grabbed whatever they could. Meanwhile, it was reported that the founder, Sachin Dev Dugal, had already cashed out over $20 million for himself before the implosion. He then reportedly moved to the UAE and, in one of the boldest moves I've ever heard of, actually tried to buy back the company's technology from the wreckage he left behind.
So why does this story matter beyond just this one company? Because Builder.ai is a massive, flashing red warning sign for the entire AI industry, which, let's be honest, is in the middle of an absolute gold rush right now.
So what are the big lessons here? What can we learn from this mess? Well, first, AI hype is powerful, and it can easily hide some really weak foundations. We all have to get better at looking past the slick marketing. Second, creative accounting is a ticking time bomb. It will blow up. Transparent financials are everything. And finally, this is a huge reminder about vendor risk. If your business depends on a single startup's promise, you better have a backup plan, because as we just saw, they can vanish overnight.
And that really leaves us with this one giant question. In this current AI gold rush, with so much money and hype flying around, how do we tell the real wizards from the charlatans? Because the story of Builder.ai proves that the line between a true visionary and a really convincing storyteller can be dangerously thin. And learning to spot that difference, that might be the great challenge of our time.